welcome to my channel. My name is Ethel. I'm a life and health coach. If you're new here, thank you for being here. I'm so excited you're here, and if you are part of the family, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about a topic that is near and dear again to my heart because it affects our well-being so much. We're talking about toxic family systems. In most relationships where there is accountability, where people get to choose whether they're being mistreated or treated well, and have the flexibility of choosing who to be around or to build a relationship with, families are one of those relationships that do not have that flexibility, especially for children. So children are born into families. So to a child, usually, their parents are almost like, just really high and elevated, almost like gods a little bit. They come into the world with all these hopes of being loved and accepted and unconditionally loved. But unbeknownst to them, their parents are just two human beings that had kids. So at whatever levels that they meet their parents when they're born, that's the kind of parenting that they get. Somebody actually said that's why the firstborn gets the biggest share of everything, because there's a learning curve where parents kind of like make their mistakes with the first one, and then the other ones get it a little bit easier, which I thought was a very interesting thought. But there is grace around, not being a perfect parent and not having maybe some tools inside your tool belt to help you parent your children well. However, when we come to this dark side of toxic families, it is a whole different ballgame. Okay, so in these families, sometimes what happens is that the children, amongst the children, one person is picked as the scapegoat. So this person, for whatever reason, maybe because they're more outspoken, or they're truth tellers, or they just stand out in one way or the other, or are very much maybe unlike the parents, these kids get targeted and they are basically scapegoated, which means they're used as an example to the other kids to show what happens if you do not stay in line. What happens if you do not do as you're told? Another phenomenon that happens in toxic family systems is triangulation. This is basically when two people are having a disagreement, but instead of the two people having a healthy adult discussion about the disagreement, another family member is pulled into it as an arsenal against one person. So for instance, Mom says, well, I will tell your sister about these things that you're doing because I don't think they're right. And so now, instead of the brother or the sister dealing with mom directly, now they have two people against them, which is a power play basically, and an emotional manipulation for them to know that they're losing two family members, or sometimes 3 or 4 or 5, because of another another phenomenon that's called the smear campaign. So then the person that's having, the misunderstanding with the parent now feels like they have the whole family against them, or at least another family member that has nothing to do with the conversation. So let's look at the third phenomenon that happens that I mentioned, called the smear campaign. So the smear campaign is basically where, because somebody is not happy, that you did not do exactly what they expected you to do, that they go around to your friends, to the other family members, and kind of talk behind your back. And that creates, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of family drama. And these are all very toxic patterns that could just be addressed if family members are just emotionally mature enough to have adult conversations. Another phenomenon that happens in toxic families is neglect and abuse. So neglect in its category is very hard to measure because nobody is checking. And emotional neglect, more so than even physical, is more likely to be overlooked. So healthy parents are supposed to be attuned to the needs and to the emotions and to unconditionally love their kids. But when you are placed in a family system where the parents are emotionally immature, emotionally unavailable, narcissistic, or struggling with substance abuse problems and issues, then emotional neglect happens because nobody cares for the child, nobody meets the child where they're at, and they're sometimes actually given adult roles and adult expectations are laid upon them, especially because these parents are not able to fulfill all of those roles. Nobody checks on or asks children, how are you doing? Because it's just not a thing that people do. Because we just trust parents to be doing their best. In toxic families, usually the best is not what's happening. Usually, sometimes it's the worst that's actually happening. Because another coin of this phenomena is abuse, blatant abuse, where children are being verbally abused, or physically abused, or sexually abused. In children's formative years, programming is very important. Children show up in the world and they're looking around, learning and absorbing what the world is about, who they are, how loved they are, how to care, how to share, how to talk, how to speak. And so when children are met with a toxic family system, they learn very quickly that there is injustice in the system, that there is no rhyme or reason, that goodness is a little bit further than they thought. Such children can experience verbal abuse, where parents are telling them things about themselves that are not true, that are demeaning, that are forecasting into their future, kind of like curses, like you will never amount to anything, or that's why your brother or sister is better than you. And all of these statements are, projected towards a child in an attempt to control them, instead of just the normal relationship of getting to know a human being, another human being, with their own likes and dislikes and ideas, and getting to know, a child and help form them, but in a positive, uplifting way. Usually toxic family systems will beat down on children and program them to be controllable and to really become praise to abusers in the future. Another form of abuse that happens is financial abuse. So financial abuse in a toxic family system can look like, instead of encouraging every member of the family to become productive members of the family and to work hard and to just put in the labor, the character, everything it takes to make it in society, sometimes one person or a couple people in the family are burdened with the financial futures of the whole entire family. This can look like family members having what I call fake emergencies, which are emergencies that could have been prevented down the line, but just because of negligence and maybe mismanagement and just not prioritizing their finances, these emergencies pop up. And sometimes all of these financial burdens are laid upon one or two members of the family. Most of us know that as adults, you don't get into adulthood having a bunch of money waiting for you to help you through life. Now, except your parents were very smart and savvy and worked hard and had the opportunities to create that financial backbone for you. So most adults are usually starting off with their own industry and their own work and their own sweat to build a financial structure on which they're going to then build their future families. So with the toxic family system, the family of origin, is what I'm talking about, the family of origin. So with that system, what happens is children from these families find it very difficult to then build and grow wealth for their families, for their lives, and for generations to come. And this actually perpetuates a cycle of poverty that goes on. Very few children actually are able to break that cycle and be able to, make great wealth while still being able to completely provide for an army of people that are usually not able or unwilling usually to put their best foot forward and really do the hard work of putting their finances in order. So these children are tasked now with the burden of taking care of their family of origin and also trying to build their current families. This phenomenon kind of creates a system of debt. So, we talk about student loans and student debt. Some people, because of toxic family systems, actually come into adulthood with the debt of being raised by a family. So they're already indebted before they get into adulthood because there are all these expectations for them to invest their time, energy, and money into grown adults' lives and financial situations when they could be pouring into the future and into their families. I believe in the idea that a good man leaves inheritances for his children and his children's children sometimes, and that is a burden of every parent because it's inspirational. It inspires us to work harder and to just do all we have to do to build our lives and be able to extend to our children a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block, for our children to be able to stand on our backs to move to the next level rather than us being on their backs while they try to climb. So the last point that I want to talk about is the social isolation that adult children from toxic family systems experience because of the social construct that families are loving and family is family and family is forever. So because of those ideas, sometimes adult children from toxic family systems feel a lot of shame and guilt and an inability to process and talk through their experiences with others because they're blamed and shamed by society to just be quiet and just be thankful that they were raised by parents. Now, I do agree that children do owe their parents honor and gratitude and kindness and love, but I believe that that's the extent of their debt. Their debt is not a financial debt. It's not a debt to present their families to their toxic family of origin. Their debt is not to just open up everything, their whole lives, as a sacrifice to their family of origin, to use up, to trample, and to mismanage at their will. According to research, a lot of people are coming awake to toxic family systems and patterns. There's a lot of resources out there if you find yourself experiencing some of these things that I mentioned, or might have experienced them and are trying to process and heal and build a good family system for your life and for your children and for generations to come. If you're a cycle breaker that is trying to heal from some toxic family systems and to find your voice and your confidence and just everything that it takes to build a life and to build wealth and to build families that are healthy, I am a health and life coach, and I really am passionate about helping people heal and helping people thrive, especially with this kind of background. And I do understand I am a survivor as well, and would love to talk to you. Until next time, bye-bye.